there is a there's a need for CSF to be slightly alkaline. It's going to be helpful in maintaining the pH of the entire neuroglial cells and the neurons. Okay. What you want me to repeat, beta? Broca's area, ye dekho na. It is the motor speech area that translates thoughts into speech. So whatever you have to speak up will first be framed in your mind. Correct? And after that, it will be coming on to your tongue. So which language, which words would be coming to your vocabulary would be decided by the Broca's area. Okay, so it's going to control the movement of the tongue, lips, and vocal cords. Everything is decided there, yes, in the Broca's area. What is to be spoken? Okay. What is your doubt, beta? Huh. Yeah. So corpus callosum is to join the two hemispheres. Yes, correct. Initial 5 lines of CSF paragraph. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? किधर है बेटा CSF वाला? Tell me. This one, it is a lymph-like extracellular fluid secreted by choroid plexus of pia mater. I've shown you now where the CSF is going to be present, the areas I had drawn and I had shown you all. Correct? In the ventricles of the brain, I told you ventricles are cavities. I showed you those cavities the other day. Yeah. Of pia mater present inner to the subarachnoid matter. Okay? The CSF escapes from the ventricles so that the new CSF could be produced. Yes, but it has to drain off continuously so that new CSF will be produced. Okay. CFS is secreted by pia mater, choroid plexus, and ependymal cells lining the ventricles of the brain and central canal of the spinal cord. So it's going to be the extension. Right? The same thing is going to get extended till the spinal cord. So that is what the 5 lines that I was like you had asked me, but I guess it's very simple. I have shown you the ventricles. Yeah, yeah. So these are the ventricles. So in the choroid plexus, okay, these 3 ventricles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Choroid plexus is actually an opening rather, I would say. Okay. The point of opening. So probably here, okay. These are the areas. Then we go to the hindbrain, of course. The posterior region of the brain is called as hindbrain, as the name says. Hind ka matlab hai backside. It consists of pons varoli, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. The pons varoli appears as a rounded bulge on the underside of the brain stem. So it's going to be like a swollen knob-like thing, which is going to be seen, which we have seen in the diagram in last class. Brainstem consists of midbrain, pons, medulla, and continues into the spinal cord. It's just the extension to the spinal cord. It contains a crossband of nerve fibers connecting cerebrum, cerebral lobes, medulla oblongata, and spinal cord. So all these are interconnected with the help of the nerve fibers. It also contains several nuclei. Thus, you know what is nuclei. I'm not repeating it again now. The cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain and consists of 2 lateral hemispheres and a central vermis. So just like our cerebrum, we have got cerebellum. And this cerebellum is also going to be having 2 hemispheres. Okay. And it's got a central vermis. The way we have got corpus callosum, here we have got the central vermis. It is composed of white matter within a layer of gray matter or a tree. Okay, the white matter intermixes with the gray matter and shows a tree-like pattern called as arbor vitae. Okay, so here you can see the cerebellum, This is going to be the cerebellum, this part. Okay. It's having a branching tree-like appearance, which is called as arbor vitae. I've got the model of the brain. Okay. I'll just get it. Give me a second. Okay. Within 1 second, I'll get the brain model. It's really easy for you all to understand. Stop the share and I'll show you this particular model. So this is what is the blur wala bhi thoda. Yeah, you can see this, right? What I have done is ये brain को मैंने पूरा labeling कर दिया है एक side पे. So whenever I'll meet you offline, that time I'll for sure show you this. I'll give this in your hand, of course. तो ये जो है, you can see there's a median fissure over here, right? This median fissure, if you open it, okay, this is the cerebral cortex. ये cerebral cortex है. Okay, so this is your cerebrum entirely. Here you can see the optic lobes. Can you see white wale parts? So these white things, these two, this and this, these are your optic lobes. Okay, this is the optic bulb. This is the cord, right? Got it? And here you can see like this. If I hold it, yeah, here you can see this particular portion. This one is the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. Okay, so this is the cerebrum. This is the cerebellum. Here you can see this white portion extended. This white portion which is extended is obviously going to be your extension towards the spinal cord. So नीचे की तरफ ये पूरा spinal cord नीचे आ जाएगा. ठीक है? आगे से देखो बेटा. Look at this particular thing from this view. You see. Okay. So here you can see 12 number and 13 number. दिखाई दे रहा है? So that is going to be your pons and medulla. 12th is pons, 13th is medulla. Okay. Can you see the 7th one? Blue color में जो 7th है. Yes. So ये जो blue color का 7th है, that is going to be your choroid plexus का beginning. Okay. Now what I have done over here, I have drawn these think you will be able to see these lines. Can you see this word central sulcus, which is dividing the midbrain and the motor area? Midbrain motor area है ना? ये central sulcus है बेटा. और यहाँ पर देखो, you can see the word parietal. Okay, ये parietal है. Then you have got post sensory area. Yes. Then can you see this something called as sensory speech area? So this is the area of sensory speech. This is going to be the occipital area. ये देखो. And नीचे तुम्हें ये वाला जो है यहाँ पर तुम्हें visual area दिखाई दे रहा है. Right? So let me turn this now. So if I turn it, now you will be able to see something called as temporal and auditory Vernix area. दिखाई दे रहा है बेटा? Taste लिखा है मैंने यहाँ पर, taste. You can feel the taste. Correct? Then, yeah. See, to understand speech and writing, I have marked it. That is going to be your the Vernix area. Can you see olfactory area? Motor speech and Broca's area. So someone was asking me about the Broca's area. Can you see Broca's area का position? अभी मैं इसको दूर लेके जाती हूँ तो तुम्हें Broca's area का position समझ में आ जाएगा. See, motor speech and Broca's area. Correct? And you can very clearly see the sulci and the gyri very clearly. मैंने half पे लिखा है, half मैंने original जैसे है वैसे ही रखा है. If I open this, you can see this particular brown color का arborbite. That is going to be the part of cerebellum. Here you can see ऊपर की तरफ ये वाला part जो है, this one where my finger is present right now. See this one is going to be the pons. This one is going to be the medulla. And ये जो नीचे है, it will extend from the medulla to form the spinal cord. Correct? Can you all see? अब यहाँ से अगर तुम ये येलो पार्ट दिख रहे हो, can you see this yellow part? See, this is the yellow part. यहाँ पर रहेगा तुम्हारा pituitary gland. यहाँ पर रहेगा pineal gland. Got it? Right? This blue part, white and blue वाला ये जो area है, that is going to be corpus callosum. This is the one which is going to connect the two hemispheres, corpus callosum. Okay, and here you can see this midbrain. Correct? This area. Of course, when I come to your physical, जब भी मिलेंगे ना हम लोग, तो definitely I'll show you this in your hands. Okay, and can you see this 5 number? Yes, that 5 number is actually the ventricles to which the choroid plexuses are attached. Okay, so any choroid plexus is going to be a cavity which is going to be forming the CSF. Okay, so this is how the brain actually दिखता है. Now I guess now will be all the more clear because I have been spotlighted. So this is how the brain looks like. Please remember, ये वाला जो है, this is going to be the cerebellum. ये देखो, from outside it is like this way, and from inside it is like this way. Okay, बेटा, सबको समझ में आ गया पूरा का पूरा? Any difficulty? Any problem? Yeah. Brownish color. It's not black, it is brownish color. ठीक है? So this is what I wanted to actually show you all. Look something like this way. आगे से something like this way from the sides, this way from the posterior end. Okay, this is the way it looks from below. ठीक है? No. From their questions का सवाल नहीं है बेटा दिव्या, उसमें से it becomes easy for you all to remember and recollect what are the different parts of the brain. Okay, for that I had told you that you have to write it. Well, so now let me make my video blur and we can go ahead with the content. I'll share the screen. So I hope you understood what is this particular part that I was talking about, that is cerebellum. The white matter intermixes with the gray matter and shows a tree-like pattern called as arborbitae, right? It cannot be seen. Insula is going to be deep inside. Okay. So here you can see the surface of the cerebellum shows convulsions, that is gyra and sulci. See, again, I'll show you this. You can see over here also gyra and sulci. Yahan par bhi. Okay, in the cerebellum also. A number of nuclei lie deep within each lateral or cerebral hemisphere. Over 30 million neurons lie in the cortex. Over 30 million neurons. It's a big number. 3 pairs of myelinated nerve bundles called cerebellar peduncles connect cerebellum to the other parts of the CNS. So you saw that how cerebellum is attached with the cerebrum, pons, medulla, everywhere. It is an important center which maintains equilibrium of the body, posture, balancing, orientation, moderation of voluntary muscles, maintenance of muscle tone. These all are important for writing down functions of cerebellum for your board exams. Boards में ये पूछते हैं. It is a regulatory center for neuromuscular activities and controls the rapid activities like walking, running, speaking, etc. All activities of cerebellum are involuntary. Okay, though they may involve learning at early stages. That means when you were very small, you were catching hold of the your parents' hands and they were making you walk a bit, and then you started cycling and then swimming. So it requires practice. Okay. In the entire cerebellum will have it. Okay. The medulla oblongata. So now we are coming to the medulla. Okay. The medulla oblongata is the posterior conical part of the brain and continues as spinal cord. It has inner gray matter and outer white matter. So cerebrum was ulta. Now this is inner gray and outer white. It controls involuntary vital functions like heartbeat, respiration, vasomotor activities, and peristalsis. So I showed you just now where is the medulla oblongata, right? So this position, yeah. This position जो है ये वाला brown के बाजू में ये blue वाला, okay? Okay, so it is very important because it's going to be controlling your heartbeat, respiration, vasomotor activities, and peristalsis. It also controls non-vital reflex activities like coughing, sneezing, swallowing, vomiting, yawning. Everything is associated with medulla oblongata. Okay, the cavity of medulla is called as fourth ventricle or metacele. We have seen upper diagram में where is the fourth ventricle. Its roof has the posterior choroid plexus for secretion of CSF. So there is no single choroid plexus. ये समझ लें कि एक single choroid plexus नहीं होता है बेटा. ब्रेन में बहुत सारे एरियाज है जहां पर CSF फॉर्मेशन चालू रहता है. So one is going to be above the fourth ventricle, the roof, which is going to be secreting CSF. The posterior choroid plexus also shows 3 openings, a pair of lateral foramen of Lashka and a median foramen of Megendie. तो ये जो है ना, ये डिटेल्स है और ये डिटेल्स एनसीईआरटी में नहीं है, इसीलिए मैंने ये बुक ले लिया है तुमको पढ़ाने के लिए, बिकॉज ये पार्ट तुम्हारे बोर्ड्स में भी आएगा. So if you have never heard about this Lashka and Megendie, that will be very difficult कि ये किधर है करके, है ना. What is vasomotor? Vasomotor means, what do you mean by vasomotor? What do you think? Vasomotor का मतलब क्या होगा? Motor means, vaso is associated with vessels. Very good. Blood. Yes, 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 yes. Right? So vasomotor is the blood flow. Okay? The proper blood flow has to be, yes. Correct, Zoe. Yes, beta. So right amount of blood flow has to be taken care of throughout the body. So that is also coming under the control of medulla oblongata. और इसीलिए अगर medulla oblongata को कुछ हो जाता है ना, तो पूरी ये एक्टिविटीज जो है ना हैप्पैजार्ड हो जाती है. You know, so we have to be very careful. Cerebrum को तो बचाना है ही, लेकिन along with that, cerebellum and medulla oblongata are also equally important. So it is going to lie somewhere in this back region. I showed you. Spinal cord के neck और इसके बीच में ये वाला point. It's very important. So they are going to have choroid plexus at the roof, as well as it's going to have 3 openings of choroid plexus, which is going to be a pair of lateral foramen. Lateral means sideways है, and center में है Megendie. Yes, alcohol affects medulla oblongata. Very true, beta. बिल्कुल correct. इसीलिए तो it is very, like never to be consumed वाला है. Why the arrangement of white and gray matter have different from rest of the brain? It is the arrangement of the myelinated and non-myelinated sheets, as we have already discussed. So in these areas, the function of myelinated will require a lot of energy. So that is going to be exclusively present in the cerebral hemispheres. Eventually, conservation of energy is one more very important factor. So this arrangement will ensure that majority of the part is going to be gray, non-myelinated. Okay? Remember these names: lateral foramen of Lashka and median foramen of Megendie. Okay? That's all with your brain. So we have seen in detail about the entire brain ka structure, and then we come to spinal cord. Spinal cord, actually speaking, it's the extension of medulla oblongata. So वैसे देखा जाए तो वो कुछ अलग से ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. मतलब हम लोग ऑप्टिक नर्व्स से हमने स्टार्ट किया था पूरा डिस्कशन. फोर ब्रेन है ना, मतलब सेरेब्रम में फोर ब्रेन, मिड ब्रेन, हाइंड ब्रेन, cerebellum, pons, medulla, and now we are coming to the spinal cord, right? So spinal cord is the part of CNS and forms the lower extension of the medulla oblongata of the brain. Like the brain, it is covered and protected by bony covering and membrane. Same है, कोई भी difference नहीं है, outer to inner. It lies, when someone is given anesthesia works, it is going to be affected in that particular zone itself, medulla oblongata. Yes, beta. The spinal cord, it lies within the neural canal of the vertebral column and is surrounded by 3 meninges: dura mater, arachnoid matter, and pia mater. The cerebrospinal fluid secreted by pia mater forms a fluid cushion around the spinal cord within it inside the central canal. So it will prevent the friction. There won't be any friction. Externally, the spinal cord appears as long cylindrical rod, 42 to 45 centimeters long, 2 to 2.5 centimeters broad. The spinal cord is broadest at its anterior end, that is near the neck region, okay, and will taper into conus medullaris, which continues as a thread called as phylum terminale. So the tapering end of the spinal cord is conus medullaris. एंड फाइनली एक ऐसा पतला सा थ्रेड के जैसा इतना पतला सा वो एक्सटेंड होता है, which will be called as phylum terminale. Okay, spinal cord shows two swellings along its length called as cervical and lumbar swelling. So one swelling is going to be the cervical one, then it will become concave and again it will become convex to form the lumbar swelling. Cervical means shoulder region, lumbar means back region. Okay, कमर जिसको कहते हैं ना, पीछे कमर दर्द होता है ना बहुत सारे लोगों को, that is what is lumbar region. 31 pairs of spinal nerves arise from the lateral sides of the spinal cord. 31 pairs are arising, मतलब अगर ये spinal cord है तो spinal cord के दोनों तरफ से ऐसे spinal nerves निकल आते हैं. How many are there? 31 pairs. Okay, these nerves are concentrated in the region of cervical and lumbar swelling and around the conus medullaris. The bunch of nerves in the hind part of the spinal cord along with phylum terminale appears like a horse tail. So it is called as cauda equina. Equinus means horse. Cauda means tail. Tail of equinus. That is tail of the horse. So because of the appearance of horse tail, that particular part is called as what? Cauda equina. ठीक है? So if you see this diagram, actually मेरे पास skeleton भी पड़ा है लेकिन वो अभी ऊपर रखा है मैंने कबर्ड में, नहीं तो मैं वो भी निकाल दी थी. ये देखो, so this is the spinal cord. Okay, this is the spinal cord. So there are going to be, nerves coming out, 31 pairs coming from this side also and from this side also. So this is the extension of the medulla oblongata. Okay. Cervical and lumbar swelling, they are nothing. They are the curvatures. You can see over here, this ये bulged है, ये अंदर गया, ये वापस bulged हुआ. So when I will be teaching you, locomotion chapter नहीं हुआ ना अपना? Have you completed with locomotion? No. So in locomotion chapter, I will take out my dear friend. And when I will take out my dear friend, that time I will show you what are these curvatures altogether. But in respiration chapter, breathing and exchange wala chapter, we have already seen the, curves. Cervical convex, concave, lumbar convex, sacral concave. है ना? Yeah, that skeleton is my dear friend. उसके इतना करीबी दोस्त मेरा कोई नहीं है. मेरा सबसे करीबी दोस्त मेरा आएगा वो बाहर. He is my all time friend. नहीं, friend कौन होता है? नाम वाम नहीं रखती मैं. वो जो फ्रेंड होता है ना, फ्रेंड ऐसा होता है ना कि तुम कुछ भी बोलोगे तो सुन के लेगा, उल्टा जवाब नहीं देगा. इसलिए वो मेरा सबसे डियर फ्रेंड है. उसको मैं कुछ भी बोलेगी तो वो सुन के लेता है ना, आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं करता है. यस, मैं सारे फीलिंग्स उसको शेयर करूंगी ना, फिर भी वो बेचारा ऐसे ही हंसता रहता है. अरे, he is my dearest friend. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But right now उसको मैंने थोड़ा बहुत हंस रहा था, इसलिए ऊपर पैक करके रखा है. So when I'll be taking the locomotion chapter, after completing this chapter, I'll be starting with locomotion chapter. That I might, make him come back on my lap. Well, so yeah. So a central canal can be seen in the center. We are talking about the TS now. The spinal cord is dorso-ventrally flattened. Means it's not circular exactly. It's a flattened structure to the presence of deep, narrow posterior fissure and shallow, broad anterior fissure. So, वो क्यों ऐसा squeezed क्यों है? Because of the presence of deep, narrow, posterior fissure. Fissure is opening. And आगे से है उसके anterior में क्या है देखो? Broad, shallow anterior fissure. A central canal can be seen in the center. The fissure divides the spinal cord incompletely into right and left side. The gray matter is somewhat H-shaped, or we call it as butterfly shape. Okay, and is on the inner side while the white matter is on the outer side. The fissure divides the gray matter into 6 horns, namely dorsal, lateral, and ventral on left side, dorsal, lateral, and ventral on the right side. ठीक है? While the white matter is divisible into 6 columns or funiculi, namely dorsal, lateral, and ventral funiculi. So ये नाम है बेटा, scientific names है. Okay. The dorsal and ventral horns extend out of the spinal cord respectively. Okay. Of these, the dorsal root is connected to the dorsal root ganglion. It lies just outside and lateral to the spinal cord. It has an aggregation collection of unipolar sensory neurons. अब जो भी हमने रीड किया वो हमने रीड किया, अब इसको अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं. Okay, yes, you can see this very clearly in this diagram. This is going to be your median septum, which is dividing the spinal cord incompletely into 2 sections. Okay, so this is the posterior median fissure यहाँ पर. This is the posterior median septum, जो ग्रूव नीचे डीप आ रहा है ना. This is the white matter, correct, right? So you can see 1, 2, and 3 parts on the left. Similarly, you can see this 1, this 2, and this 3 on the right, correct, right? Here is the central canal. This is the gray matter, which is butterfly shape or H shape as we say. This is the dorsal root. ये देखो, dorsal root मतलब क्या है? Dorsal means back side, ventral means front side. So ये पीछे की तरफ जो dorsal root है, ये dorsal horn से emerge हुआ. So this is the dorsal horn of the right. This is the dorsal horn of the left. This is the left dorsal root. This is the right dorsal root. Okay, these are your ependymas. Those are the cells, correct? Look at this. This is the lateral horn. Can you see this? Lateral horn. This is the ventral horn. So dorsal horn, lateral horn, and ventral horn. जैसे right में है 3, वैसे left में है कि नहीं? Dorsal horn, ventral horn, lateral horn and ventral horn. Correct? Now this is your right ventral root. So right dorsal root, right ventral root. And here you can see 1, 2, and 3 swollen structures called as horns. ठीक है? अब समझा? So the dorsal horn extends out of the spinal cord as dorsal root. So this dorsal horn will extend as dorsal root. Okay, and the ventral horn will extend as ventral root. Lateral horn will never extend. It will remain confined in this particular area itself. समझ में आ रही है language and the diagram? Any difficulty बेटा? Any difficulty in understanding this part? Clear now? Now see, the association of interneurons lie inside the gray matter. Obviously, the association of interneurons means association between 2 neurons. We have already seen how the synapse is being transmitted, correct? Will lie inside the gray matter. They receive signal from the sensory nerve, integrate it, and direct the response towards the motor neurons lying towards the ventral horn. अब ये कैसे जाता है? Reflex. वो हम आगे देखने ही वाले हैं. It's a part of your syllabus, but still, see what happens. See, the neurons will receive signal from the sensory nerves, right? That particular signal will be analyzed. It would be integrated, and a command will be given to the motor neurons to execute that impulse, to understand that impulse and act accordingly. Okay, so see, it will get integrated and it will get directed towards the motor neurons lying towards the ventral horn. Okay, तो इस तरीके से ventral horn से अब है वो ANS में चला जाएगा. देखो, so the lateral horns have neurons of autonomic nervous system, that is ANS. The nerves arising from these neurons emerge out from the ventral root of spinal nerve. So you can see the ventral root very clearly in the diagram. तो वहां से सारे nerves जो है वो बाहर आ जाते हैं, ठीक है? All the nerves will come out from the right ventral root from the right side and left ventral root from the left side. So ये जो है, ये जो ventral roots है, it will be having what? Collection of nerves. They all will be extending out like ropes. ठीक है? The white matter consists mainly of bundles of myelinated nerve fibers called as ascending and descending tracts. The ascending tract conducts sensory impulses from the spinal cord to the brain, and these lie in the dorsal column or funiculi. तो अगर वेंट्रल साइड पे एएनएस के नर्व्स बाहर आ रहे हैं, तो बैक साइड पे डोर्सल साइड पे क्या है? What is going to come out of the dorsal root? So what are they saying? The ascending tracts conducts. Ascending means going up, ऊपर जा रहा है, ब्रेन के तरफ जा रहा है ना? So the ascending tracts will carry the sensory impulse to reach the brain, okay, which lie in the dorsal column or the funiculi. The descending tracts conduct motor impulses from the brain to the lateral and ventral funiculi of the spinal cord. So it's a very synchronized mechanism that is happening. जो डोर्सल साइड है ना बेटा स्पाइनल कॉर्ड का, वो इम्पल्सेस को ब्रेन के तरफ लेके जाएगा, ठीक है? फाइन, असेंड करके. जो डिसेंडिंग ट्रैक्ट्स है, दे विल बी कंडक्टिंग द मोटर इम्पल्सेस फ्रॉम द ब्रेन टू द स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. तो स्पाइनल कॉर्ड में वेयर द सिग्नल्स विल बी रीचिंग फ्रॉम द ब्रेन in the lateral sides and the ventral sides. Okay, so in this way, brain to the spinal cord and spinal cord to the brain, continuous इन दोनों का interaction चलता ही रहता है. Fine, understood how the position is all together. So look at this diagram one more time. See, so wherever they have written dorsal root, it is going to carry the impulses to the brain. Okay, from the brain, the descending ones will make, udhar se aayenge, okay, will make this lateral horn and ventral horn to receive the motor signals, which will then be moving out through the ventral root. समझ में आ गया है? Anyone having any difficulty? Yes, beta. Yes, Bhumi, you are right. You are right. Anyone has not followed the language or any part? You want me to explain one more time? Okay. From the vein, which route? It is via the medulla oblongata to reach the spinal cord, to come through the same dorsal route, finally at reaching the lateral horn and then the ventral horn. Okay, fine. So see here, here now, this is going to be the dorsal root, dorsal horn. So dorsal horn is the area where the signals are going to be, reaching. Fine. So the association of interneurons lie inside the gray matter, means that butterfly shape जो आपको दिख रहा है ना बेटा, that is the gray matter, right? So they will receive signal from the sensory nerve, who will receive the neurons in that butterfly shape structure. Okay, that signals will be integrated, and there are two options. If the spinal cord is capable of taking the decision कि आगे क्या करना है, then directly ये response motor neurons की तरफ जाएंगे, जो ventral root से बाहर आ जाएंगे, और हम वो action कर लेंगे. First option is what? The spinal cord only decides what is the action to be done. then there is no like problem. But if the spinal cord is not in the capacity to take the decision or execute the signal or understand the signal, then the spinal cord will send it to its boss. So who is that boss? That boss is the brain. तो ब्रेन तक मैसेज कौन से रूट से जाता है? सो ब्रेन तक वो सिग्नल जो है, सेंसरी न्यूरॉन का जो सिग्नल है, इट विल रीच वाया द डोर्सल हॉर्न, वाया द डोर्सल रूट टू रीच द ब्रेन. ब्रेन इज अल्टीमेट. ब्रेन हैज टेकन द डिसीजन. ठीक है, इट्स ओके, डू लाइक दिस वे. Now do like this way, the orders would again be sent to the spinal cord only. Okay, via the same route. Dorsal route की तरफ से ही आएंगे ये, signals from the brain to reach the dorsal horn, lateral horn and ventral horn. So via the dorsal horn, they are going to reach the lateral horn and ventral horn. Now that lateral horn and ventral horn understood what is to be done. They got the orders from the brain, the boss. So now via the same particular nerves which are coming out of the ventral root, the signal will be executed. Is it fine? So dorsal, देखो तो ये ग्रे मैटर में कहीं पर भी सिग्नल इंटरप्रिटेशन हो सकता है. अगर डायरेक्टली सिग्नल इंटरप्रिटेशन हो गया वाया द वेंट्रल रूट, बात खत्म. बट अगर नहीं कर पाया स्पाइनल कॉर्ड ये पर्टिकुलर सिग्नल का एनालिसिस, देन इट इज फोर्स्ड टू सेंड इट टू द ब्रेन वाया द डोर्सल रूट. Okay, brain will send the signal via the dorsal root, via the dorsal horn to reach the lateral horn and ventral horn. There are going to be motor neurons present over there who would then come to know what is to be done, what action is needed, and it will do it. That action will be taken, it will be executed via the nerves which are coming out of the ventral. Okay. Yes, yes. Perfect, beta. Bilkul correct. Bilkul correct. Understood, na? Good. Anyone still has any difficulty, please ask me. It's okay if you're asking me. I don't have any problem. Okay. Then we come to the functions. The spinal cord is the main center for the most of the reflex actions. Reflex actions. It provides pathway for conduction of sensory and motor impulses to and from the brain. Yeah? Which exact part of the brain will receive the signal? There are so many parts. If the signal is for vision, then the area will be different. If it is for touch, it will be different. If it is for taste, it will be different. If it is for hearing, it will be different. So there are, every part of the brain has got centers, na beta? So that particular signal should reach that particular center precisely. So different क्या कहते हैं managers रखे अपने brain में उसके पास. So accordingly that signal will be interpreted. Okay. So the spinal cord is the main center for the most reflex actions. It provides pathway for conduction of sensory and motor impulses to and from the brain. It provides nervous connections to many parts of the body. Nervous means neural connections. Fine. So that's about the spinal cord in general. Any difficulty in understanding these things? Then we go to the PNS. So we have completed with CNS. CNS was what? Central nervous system made up of brain and spinal cord. Okay. Sorry. Then we come to peripheral nervous system, PNS. As the name says, peripheral means on the sides. So the peripheral nervous system connects the central nervous system. Sorry again. The PNS system connects the central nervous system to different parts of the body having receptors and effectors. Okay. What is your doubt? Yeah. So many varieties. Yes, but correct. इसीलिए तो brain is called as the ultimate one. So yeah, the peripheral nervous system connects the central nervous system to different parts of the body. So central nervous system तो इतना ही है ना, brain and spinal cord. So it has to get coordinated with the rest of our body parts. Okay, so it's going to be done via the receptors and effectors which are present in the body, depending on the connection to the CNS. The peripheral nerves are classified into two main categories: cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Means those nerves which connect the brain are cranial nerves, and those which connect the spinal cord are spinal nerves. So the nerves which are connected to brain, cranial; the nerves which are connected with the spinal cord, spinal. Right? When the signal comes back to dorsal or from the brain, will that be considered as sensory impulse or motor impulse? It is going to have two types of neurons, beta. There are few neurons which will act as sensory. They'll only perform the function of sensory. There are others which are purely motor, which will only execute that particular signal, and few are mixed. So you've got three types of neurons: sensory neurons, motor neurons, and mixed type. So how the signal, which type of signal is going to be reaching the brain, how is it going to get interpreted, all is going to be different for each and every signal. वही अभी हमें देखना है, that what are the different types of cranial nerves and what are their functions. Okay, वही अभी लोग देख रहे हैं, देखो. So this is a very beautiful chart which has been mentioned in your books: cranial nerves, nature and function. So total, if you see the number 1, 2, 3, look in the Roman letters में लिखे हैं वो, Roman alphabet से 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So total there are how many cranial nerves, beta? 12 cranial nerves. Rather, I would say 12 pairs. Okay. First का नाम है olfactory. You know what is olfactory? Smell. Type क्या है? It gives the sensation of smell. So it's sensory. Where is it present? उसका origin कहाँ से हो रहा है? Olfactory nerve का. Olfactory bulb. First part. This one, as you can see. Olfactory bulb. Correct? Organs innervated. कहाँ से जा रहा है वो? Smell जो है, that signal crosses which particular area? Epithelium of the nose. Function, smell. Second is optic, sensory, side of diencephalon, retina of the eye. Function, vision. Oculomotor, नाम से ही पता चल रहा है, this is motor. So it's going to be, the function is going to be what? A motor type of a nerve. Where is it? Floor of the midbrain. Organs innervated are eye muscles, 4 to 6 eye muscles. Movement of eyeball. Have you all ever imagined how your eyeball moves? कभी midbrain आपको याद है? मैंने आपको बताया था midbrain के टाइम पे, that if you have seen a tennis match or a badminton match, then the way you move your eyeballs. So it is, of course, in the midbrain, right? Crura cerebri, we have seen about it, 2 major and 2 minors. Anyways, but the nerve is going to be oculomotor, right? Pathetic. It looks to be very pathetic, but it isn't. Type is motor, floor of the midbrain, eye muscles, 1 of 6 eye muscles. So 4 of 6 eye muscles oculomotor innervate करता है. Innervate मतलब cross करता है. And pathetic जो है 1 of 6 eye muscles. Forehead, scalp, this point. Pathetic. Okay. What is it associated with? Rotation and movement of the eyeball. So when you rotate your eyeball पूरा गोल गोल घुमा रहे हो, घुमा के देखो, पेन होता है, थोड़ा सा हल्का सा पेन होता है when you rotate your eyeballs. It pains. Slight pain है ना? It is because of this pathetic. अगर slight pain है मतलब तुम्हें थोड़ी सी सर्दी है. ज्यादा पेन है मतलब यू आर फुल विथ कोल्ड, नो पेन मतलब देयर इज नो कोल्ड एट ऑल. ओके, yeah, so that is your pathetic. So olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic. Array, everywhere there is this cold and fever and all these things are going on. It's like a, okay, yeah. Then trigeminal. Tri means three. Okay, and trigeminal means it is also called as dentist nerve. Okay, it is also called as what? Dentist nerve, because it is going to be, you know, innervating a lot of areas. I'll show you where all. It's a mixed type of a nerve, means it can act as a sensory nerve also, and it can act as a motor nerve also. So it can you know, send the signal to the brain also, and it can bring the signal from the brain also. So it's a cranial nerve, brain का ही है. Okay, mixed type. उसमें देखो, we have got three subtypes: ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. Ophthalmic नाम से पता चल रहा है बेटा क्या है? What do you mean? Ophthalmology, eye. Yes, yes, exactly. So it is going to give, you know, sensation of the skin. मतलब क्या, कुछ अगर आंख में चला जाता है तुम्हारे, तो you close your eyes immediately, है ना? Sensation देता है. It's going to be ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. What is maxilla and what is mandible? Maxilla, mandible, yes. Jawline, yes. The jaws, correct. So maxillary is going to be sensory type. Mandibular is the largest vein, largest nerve, which is mixed type. कौन से areas से ये trigeminal जा रहा है देखो. It has got three branches. It is one only, but it has got three branches. What are the where are these three branches moving? See, nasal cavity, upper eyelids, forehead, scalp, conjunctiva, lacrimal glands, that is your tear glands, nose, mucosa of the nose, palate, upper teeth, lower lip, lower eye, lower eyelids, parts of pharynx, okay, lower teeth, skin over mandible cheek, side of the head in front of ear, muscles of mastication. ये सब इधर पूरा का पूरा जो है ना, ये ट्राइजेमाइनल वाला अपना भरा पड़ा है. Okay, so it gives a sensation of skin, touch, taste, jaw movements. Everything will be controlled by this, you know, trigeminal. Conjunctiva is the white part of our eye. Eye. Got it? So, which are the five that we have seen till now? Do you remember? Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal. Mastication is chewing. Yes, correct. Remember these names and their numbers. In the same order you have to remember. Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal. ठीक है ना? Mandible is the cheek region, lower jaw. Idhar. Abducens. Sixth one is called as what? Abducens. What is this abducens? See. Abducens is motor. It's present. Its origin is in the pons. It's going to innervate the muscles of the eyeball, lateral rectus muscle of the eye only, side say. It is associated with what? See, it is associated with movement of the eye. Now, movement of the eye and movement of the eyeball, इसमें फर्क है. Okay, क्या फर्क है? What is the difference? What do you mean by movement of the eye? Eye cannot move from one place to another, obviously. Then what it could be? Movement of the eye? Yeah. That is actually, no, it is not the eyelids or blinking something. It is the lens of the eye which gets adjusted according to the light availability. So अगर रात के टाइम पे कोई ट्यूबलाइट चलाता है तो क्या करते हो तुम लोग? यू क्लोज योर आईज ना, राइट? करेक्ट। और अगर तुम्हें कुछ ढूंढना है तो व्हाट यू डू, या फिर एकदम डिम लाइट है तो तुम क्या करते हो? डिम लाइट में यू ट्राई टू मेक योर आईज ग्रो लार्जर, राइट? सो वो जो अपर्चर है आई का, उसका कम ज्यादा करना, दैट इज abducens, yeah, to address the light. Correct. So which are the six till now that we have seen? Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens. ठीक है? Seventh, facial. नाम से पता चल रहा है, it is going to be of course a part of our face. Okay. Mixed type, origin in the pons. It's going to innervate facial, scalp, neck muscles, lacrimal glands, sublingual, submandibular, nasal and palatine glands. तो ये सारे ग्लैंड्स के तरफ जाता है, तो जो सलाइवा सिक्रीशन वगैरह है ना, सब अफेक्ट करता है. The name of a ganglia. Okay, it's the name of a ganglia which is present in the facial region. Okay, facial expression. गुस्सा आता है तो facial expression अलग, दुख होता है तो facial expression अलग, खुशी होती है तो facial expression अलग, right? Movement of the neck. Yes, no, whatever. Why yes, no? Even when you are speaking, you tend to move your neck according to your speech, right? Secretion of tears. As I said, dukh hai to bhi, khushi hai to bhi. Secretion of tears. Taste and salivary secretions. Okay. Dhruv. सही बात है. Okay, so that is all which is going to be under the influence of this cranial nerve, that is facial. Come on, again I'm repeating: olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial. 7 हो गए. I want all of you all to learn this. Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial. 7 out of 12. 7 तो इधर ही खत्म हो गए हमारे. Come on. Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial. Okay, 7 done. Order is important. Which is the 8th cranial nerve? Which is the 5th cranial nerve? This is the way they will ask you in your exams, my dears. Yeah. At least, you know, not too much, but at least the order in which they are given. I mean, they ask you which is the 5th cranial nerve, which is the 7th cranial nerve. So you should be aware of that. Okay. And whether it is sensory, motor or mixed, and the functions. इतना तो at least तुम्हें याद रखना है. What does it innervate and where there is origin? ठीक है. If you can remember, well and good. If not, at least the 3 columns. Number, motor, mixed or sensory, and their function. ठीक है. It's in that order, बेटा. एक के नीचे एक है ये. Why that numbering? मतलब it's exactly one below the other. एक के नीचे दूसरा, दूसरे के नीचे तीसरा. In that order only it's going to be placed. Okay. Auditory. You know what is auditory? So it is vestibulocochlear. So it's vestibular and cochlear. Vestibular and cochlear are the 2 parts of, actually vestibule and cochlea are the 2 parts of our ear. So in this chapter only we have to understand about ear. So that time I'll explain in detail what is vestibule and what is cochlear. Okay. Sensory type, originating in pons, present in internal ear, hearing and equilibrium. So ear is not only associated with hearing, but it is also associated with your equilibrium. किसी किसी का बैलेंस चला जाता है अगर ईयर इन्फेक्शन है तो. Okay, why is it associated with equilibrium? That also I'll explain. See, I don't know if you have seen this in Mumbai local, if you have traveled by local trains anytime. So there are females especially, I don't know males because I have never traveled in gents first class, but yeah, ladies first class of course. I've seen so many females. who go to sleep, सो जाते हैं वो, है ना, और सोते 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 वो ऐसे एक जगह से एक साइड झुक जाते हैं. Have you all seen? They start putting their entire weight on बाजू वाली, right? अब वो बेचारी बाजू वाली अच्छी रहेगी ना तो वो कुछ हिलेगी नहीं, कुछ नहीं करेगी. She will like चलो ठीक है, थक गई है बेचारी, सोने दो. लेकिन कोई खड़ूस रहेगी तो क्या करेगी? What will she do? She will move, and the minute she moves ना वो बेचारी गिर जाती है, मतलब बैलेंस चला जाता है, but she will not fall down, right? She will again come to, you know, like her senses, and she'll say sorry, sorry, and again she'll be back on her seat again to fall on her. या फिर कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, एक पर्टिकुलर एंगल तक वो डिविएट होती है एंड ऑल ऑफ अ सडन शी रियलाइजेस दैट शी इज गोइंग too much to one side. So without, you know, anyone, you know, telling her or waking her up ना, वो खुद ही वापस normal आ जाती है. That is because of this eustachian tube. So this vestibular apparatus will contain eustachian tube, which will help in equilibrium, balancing. Okay. School picnic में while coming back, I know तुम्हारी हालत कैसे होती होगी. Okay, so olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial, auditory. Okay. Next is glossopharyngeal. Glossopharyngeal is associated with tongue and pharynx. Okay. Mixed type. Side of medulla oblongata. Innervates pharynx, tongue, and salivary gland. It is associated with taste, salivation, and swallowing. Okay. So all these signals will be given via this glossopharyngeal. Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial, auditory, glossopharyngeal. ठीक है? Okay. Then comes the 10th one. Vagus, most important nerve of our entire nervous system. Most important. Why? See, it's called as pneumogastric. It's mixed. Side of medulla oblongata, उसके साइड से निकलता है. It's innervates larynx, तो voice control करेगा. Trachea, breathing. Pharynx, eating, swallowing, whatever. Alimentary canal, heart, lungs, pancreas, blood vessels. Oh my God, everywhere this vagus nerve is going to reach. So isn't it very important? What are the functions? Visceral sensations and visceral movements like breathing, cardiac slowing, then cardiac breathing, cardiac slowing, it should be swallowing actually. Gastric and pancreatic secretion, gastrointestinal movements, everything, internal organs से associated अपना vagus nerve है. So sometimes you have got pain in your stomach. How do you realize that there is pain in your stomach? This vagus will go and tell the brain, pain in the stomach. Sometimes खास खास के है ना, इधर पूरा दर्द होने लगता है. Many of you might have experienced this. After continuous coughing na, it pains over here in the chest region very badly. Who tells? Vagus. So all your visceral organs, कुछ भी गड़बड़ हुआ, vagus is the first one to report it to the brain. This is the problem with the visceral organs. Okay. Therefore, I said vagus is very important. Yeah. Ribs also start paining by coughing, of course. But all these will be told by the vagus only. Okay? So, olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial, auditory, glossopharyngeal, vagus. 10 हो गए. Last two. Second last is spinal accessory. As the name says, spinal accessory. Mixed type, side of medulla oblongata. Innervates the neck and shoulder muscles. Reflexes of thoracic and abdominal. Viscera of larynx and pharynx. Movements of larynx, pharynx, neck and shoulder. Spinal accessory. तो इधर अगर दर्द हो रहा है गंदा वाला, कभी कभी, है ना? Yeah. Due to these impulses. Yes, my dear. So sometimes you have got pain in the neck. Or you know, when you get a massage back pain, नेक मसाज अगर लेते हो तो वो जो रिलैक्स वाला फीलिंग है ना, वो वाला भी ये स्पाइनल एक्सेसरी ब्रेन को जाके देता है कि सी नाउ द थिंग्स आर लाइक मच बेटर. ओके, that is what na, that is what, if a person is having problem with the vagus nerve, it is going to hamper everything. All these things are going to be at stake. Okay, that is the problem. तो वेगस नर्व जो है ना अपनी, वो बहुत काम वाली है, एकदम काम की चीज है वो. Well, then lastly we have got hypoglossal. Again, glosso means, I told you just now, tongue. So hypo means below. So it's going to be side of the medulla oblongata. It lies below the tongue. Tongue muscles में movement of the tongue. So in this way, the 12 cranial nerves have been given in detail in your books, and you ought to remember this. First thing, it's on the medulla oblongata, the person dies. Yes, na beta. That is the main reason, because medulla oblongata is going to be the center for everything, right? It's a vital center for all these areas. So obviously it's going to get, affected. Fine. Olfactory, optic, oculomotor, pathetic, trigeminal, abducens, facial. Auditory, glossopharyngeal, vagus, spinal accessory, hypoglossal. All 12, you have to remember them. Okay? When we will talk about neuro diseases, I don't know, end of the chapter is neuro diseases only. So cranial nerves, these nerves develop from the brain in all amniotes, that is reptiles, birds, mammals. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Roman numbering 1 to 12 is used to denote them. These nerves originate or terminate into the brain. According to their function, these are classified as sensory 1 to 8, motor 3, 4, 6, 11, 12, and mixed 5, 7, 9, 10. So इधर crisply उन्होंने दे दिया है. Okay? Yeah. Yes, beta. Yes, Sachi, you're right, beta. Right. The details of the cranial nerves are present in the human body in the table given above, which we have already seen. अब ये तो सिर्फ 12 है. अब है 31 spinal nerves. Oh my God. So do we have to remember their names? No, it's very simple. It's going to be groups. So it will be easy. Look at it. Spinal nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerves originate from the spinal cord. They are mixed nerves and they provide two-way communication between spinal cord and part of the upper and lower limb, neck and trunk. These are the 31 different types of spinal nerves. See, cervical region में 8. Cervical region, okay, 8. Neck के इधर का. Thoracic region, 12. You know thorax. Okay. Lumbar, abdomen. Right? Sacral, 5 in the pelvis. And coccygeal, 1 in the coccyx. So, count it. 8 plus 12. कितने होते हैं? 20 plus 5. 25. 25 plus 5. 30. 30 plus 1. 35. Okay. So neck, thorax, abdomen, pelvis, and coccyx. So the way you have to remember is C8, T12, L5, S5, C1, C8, T12, L5, S5, C1. इस तरीके से तुम्हें इसको कैलकुलेट करना है. ओके, दिस इज इन एडल्ट्स. ये जो है इट इज इन एडल्ट्स बिकॉज यहाँ पर टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग ये जो सैक्रम है उधर उन्होंने 5 दिए हुए हैं, है ना. सो उसके बारे में और डिटेलिंग अपने लोकोमोशन चैप्टर में हो जाएगा. ओके, देन फॉर्मेशन ऑफ अ टिपिकल स्पाइनल नर्व. Spinal nerve. All spinal nerves are of mixed type. Now this is the most important point. All spinal nerves are mixed type. So there is no specific as motor or sensory. Okay, they are both. They have some nerve fibers as sensory and some as motor. Each spinal nerve is formed inside the neural canal of the vertebral column by two roots, the posterior and the posterior or the dorsal sensory root we saw just now, and anterior or the ventral root. तो ये तो हमने देखे है ना बेटा, that dorsal root gap भी है और ventral root भी है, correct? So each spinal nerve is formed inside the neural canal of vertebral column by two roots, the dorsal and the ventral. The anterior root, that is the ventral root, receives the sensory nerves from the dorsal root ganglion. What are ganglions? They have said over here. See, cell bodies of sensory neurons are located in a structure called as ganglion, while the anterior or the ventral root gives out the motor neurons. So we saw that ventral से motor neurons बाहर निकल रहे थे, which we have already seen. The dorsal sensory and the ventral motor nerves together form the mixed spinal nerves. It emerges out from both sides of the spinal end through the intervertebral foramen. So left side से भी आ रहा था और right side से भी आ रहा था. Correct? As soon as it emerges out of the vertebral column, it shows three branches. Okay? So what are the three branches? The three branches are going to be called as ramus dorsalis, ramus ventralis, and ramus communicans. Okay? So ये देखो बेटा, यहाँ पर diagram में it will become very easy for you all to understand. See this. This is the gray matter. This was the dorsal root. This was the ventral root. This is going to be the dorsal root ganglion. Right? Now what happens? See, as it comes out, it branches into three parts: ramus dorsalis, ramus ventralis, and ramus communicans. Can you see over here? Three names. So this particular one will complete the arc. ये देखो, dorsal root ganglion, spinal nerve, dorsalis, ventralis, and ramus communicans. It ends into sympathetic ganglion. That's a different thing. Okay. So ये देखो, ramus dorsalis, from skin to the muscles of the dorsal side. Where does it come from? See, from skin to muscles of the dorsal side. Ramus ventralis, the largest of the three, supplies the organs and muscles on lateral and anterior side. And ramus communicans is the smallest of the three and given out from the first thoracic up to the third lumbar spinal cord, spinal nerve. It joins the sympathetic ganglion. So here you can see this is actually the smallest. It is going to join the sympathetic ganglion. Okay, so this is the way the nerves are ultimately going to end up. Fine. Don't forget the functions. Ramus dorsalis क्या करता है, ramus ventralis क्या करता है, and ramus communicans क्या कर रहा है. ठीक है? Yeah. So any difficulties till here? Then I will explain what is the reflex arc as well. Till here, anyone having any difficulty? Come on. All of you understood this? Oh my God, that's great. Because we have already understood up till the dorsal root and the ventral root in the previous, part. Yeah. Yes, Vaishnavi, you're right, beta. Yes, perfectly right. Yeah, they are going to be aggregations. Huh? So they are going to be really swollen knob-like structures. The ganglions are going to be swollen knob-like structures. Okay. Well, then we go to the reflex action. It is a sudden, spontaneous, automatic, involuntary response to stimulus. The response to stimulus is said to be involuntary as it is carried out without any conscious effort by the brain. The path along which the action is carried out is called as reflex arc. Okay. Earlier classes means in your 10th standard and all, they are talking about the reflex actions. Do you know what is a reflex action? Do you know what is a reflex action, beta? Yeah, Zui, you're right. What is a reflex action? Involuntary sudden. Yeah. So, like if I bring a needle near you, immediately you will move your hand away. Okay? Yeah. Yes. So that is going to be your reflex action. तो वो reflex action का ये knee knocker पता है ना? You know knee knocker theory? Knee and hammer. Heard about that knee and hammer? See, you put your leg like this way. Chair पे तुम जब बैठते हो तो you put your leg down and then you take a not you probably someone will take a hammer and will try to hit you on the knee. So you can't move out of the chair, but what you do, you move your leg backward कि no don't hit me करके, है ना? That is going to be your reflex action. So reflex actions are something which are like not thought of, it just happens. Okay, या फिर something very hot has been kept on the table, you are not aware of it, तुम उसको तुरंत हाथ लगाते हो, तो what will happen? Obviously you will within a fraction of a second you will move your hand away. No one is going to teach you कि ऐसे होता है तो ऐसे करना है. That is reflex. That is what they are saying, that this is already studied in your earlier classes. Well, so human nervous system is divided into CNS, PNS, ANS. PNS consists of network of nerves arising from or going to the CNS. Accordingly, peripheral nerves are classified as afferent nerves and efferent nerves. Afferent nerve fibers transmit sensory impulse from the tissue or the organ to the central nervous system. And the efferent nerve fibers transmits regulatory or inhibitory or provocatory motor impulses from the CNS to various peripheral tissues and organs. ठीक है, जैसे कि अगर तुम्हारे हाथ पे मस्कीटो बैठा है तो तुम क्या करोगे? वाह वाह वाह, पियो पियो और ब्लड पियो बेटा, खा लो, मस्त फीस्ट ले लो, हाँ ऐसे बोलोगे. What is the thing that you will do? Though that mosquito is very smart, वो क्या करेगा? वो जो है वो तुरंत उड़ जाएगा. आप खुद को मारोगे, वो उड़ भी जाएगा, बट वो एक आता है ना, वो पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम का एक सिग्नल है कि मार यार, क्या देख रहा है उसको, है ना? I mean, an event you are going to hit yourself. Yeah, exactly. अरे लग जाता है, तब तुक्के से मर भी जाता है. I know that. Yeah, exactly. That was a reflex to fly away from the place. Exactly, right, Peter. So that is what is going to be, something that we are talking about. That afferent nerve fibers transmit sensory impulses from tissue to the CNS. And the efferent nerve fibers transmit regulatory or motor impulses from the CNS to the various parts of the organs. Okay, yeah, it is like in reflex action itself, but at least you will take some time to execute that particular thing. Okay, तो मस्कीटो बैठा है ये पहले रियलाइज होना चाहिए, तो वो रियलाइजेशन के लिए कभी कभी 5 मिनट भी लगते हैं, पता है आपको? एंड देन यू रियलाइज इट. Mosquito have already sucked our blood. Yes, that is what I'm saying. So by the time you realize that it is sucking the blood, उसको already एक blood meal खा के हो गया होता है, and then you heat it. Yeah, and then you wait for that, that swelling to come up on your hand. होता है कि नहीं? बाद में you realize you keep on scratching. So what has happened? Mosquito आया, वो उसने खाना खाया, उड़ भी गया. Then you realize that time your CNS got the signal कि mosquito ने blood पी लिया है. फिर the brain will send a signal कि release histamines and cause that allergic action. Then you will keep on scratching. Okay. Oh my God, you wait for the mosquito to settle and then you kill it. Oh my God. I can't wait for such a long time. Yeah. Yes, but yes, Aditi, you're right. Very right. Yes. Very correct. Okay. So this is what is your peripheral nervous system, PNS, right? Is it good? Who thinks about good and bad? Mosquito दिखा तो बस मेरी तो वो झांसी की रानी के हाथ में जैसे तलवार हुआ करती थी वैसे मेरे हाथ में वो रैकेट हुआ करती है एवरी रात. Right? Yeah, in my house every raat I cannot sleep without that, actually killing the mosquitoes, otherwise they will kill me. I am very fearful about it. Yes, na? See, all mothers are like this means. Okay, so let us understand this beta. Types of reflex actions quickly देख लेते हैं हम लोग. बहुत beautifully दिया है ये book में. Cranial reflexes and spinal reflexes. On the basis of the control over the actions, they have two types. Cranial reflexes carried out by the brain. Slow action response. Example, watering of mouth on sight or smell of good food. It is cranial reflex. Spinal reflexes carried out by spinal cord. Urgency for response is required, so these are very quick acting. Example, withdrawal of leg while stepping on something hot or pointed. That is the spinal reflexes. This is based on actions. Based on previous experiences, again we have got two types of responses. Unconditional and conditional. Unconditional का मतलब क्या है? They do not require any previous experience. For example, no one will teach you how to sneeze. No one will teach you how to cough. No one will teach you how to yawn. है ना? तो hiccuping, हिचकी लगती है, कोई एक्सपीरियंस की जरूरत नहीं होती है, वो रिफ्लेक्सेस अपने आप आ जाते हैं. कंडीशनल रिफ्लेक्सेस भी होते हैं. व्हाट आर कंडीशनल रिफ्लेक्सेस? These are the actions based on previous experiences. Example, swimming, dancing, cycling. You require previous exposures and experiences. Initially, these actions are voluntary when learning is being done. Later, after perfection, they become involuntary. These were first studied by Pavlov on salvation in dog at the sight and sound of the bell. You know this particular one? You know this? Pavlov का experiment पता है? You know what he did? I'll tell you. It's a very nice story. What happened, there was a scientist called as Pavlov. Now, what he did, he had a dog. Okay, he had a dog. And what he started doing this practice was, he was studying these conditional reflexes. So, what he did was, he had a bell. Bell समझते हो? घंटा. So he had a bell. So what he used to do, he used to ring the bell. Okay. Then he used to bring the dog food. First he used to ring the bell. Then he used to bring the dog food, hot piping dog food. So for the first time when he rang the bell and he offered the food to the dog, nothing happened. Dog ate it. He continued this practice for almost a month. Every time he brought the food for the dog, he used to ring the bell. Okay? So he never served the dog without ringing the bell. Okay? So every day what happened? That as and when the food का smell आता था ना वो dog को, he used to start salivating. उसके मुंह में से वो पानी टपकने लगता था. क्योंकि smell आती थी खाने की. After a month or so, what did he do? He rang the bell. But this time, he did not bring the food. He just rang the bell. But he did not bring the food. But still, now food is not there, so smell is not there. But still, the dog started salivating. So he said that now the brain of the dog has got conditioned. Now he has started assuming that whenever the bell will ring, food will be served. So when actual food is not going to be served, still he started salivating. There was no, food prepared. So this is called as your conditional reflexes. So your brain gets conditioned, your brain gets accustomed. Okay, this is Pavlov's experiment. And it's going to have both. Some are conditioned, some are, unconditioned. It could be both. Okay. According to the so this was according to the experiences, previous experience अगर है तो conditioned and non-conditioned या unconditioned type के responses होते हैं. According to number of synapses involved, again we have got two. Simple monosynaptic, it involves only one sensory and one motor neuron. Example, knee jerk reflex. That is what I was talking about. नी तुम्हारे नी पे अगर किसी ने हैमर मारने की कोशिश की तो तुम तुम्हारे नी को और तुम्हारे लेग को जर्क से पीछे करोगे. That is called as knee jerk reflex. And complex polysynaptic reflexes, it involves sensory, internervous and motor or neurons. Example, cycling, swimming. For that, coordination चाहिए. Coordination. लेफ्ट साइड पे बैलेंस चला गया तो राइट साइड कैसे कंट्रोल करेगा, राइट साइड चला गया तो लेफ्ट पे कैसे कंट्रोल करेंगे, दो हाथ है अभी एक हाथ से कैसे चलाएंगे. सो ऑल दिस आर गोइंग टू बी योर complex polysynaptic reflexes. Okay, but all are reflexes only. All are going to be reflex actions. Fine. Yeah. So look at this, my dears. I'll come to this diagram. However, according to recent studies, the extent of PNS has been broadened to incorporate ANS also. According to this view, PNS is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. So now we have a broader classification of PNS. Earlier we were not considering this. Now we consider somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system both under the PNS. The somatic nervous system relays impulses from CNS to the skeletal or voluntary muscles of the body. Okay, so this is the peripheral nervous system, which is going to be, now considered. But what exactly is ANS there? तो CNS हमें समझा, PNS हमें समझा reflexes के हिसाब से. अभी ANS क्या है? Autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system transmits impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organs. So PNS was voluntary ones. Here this is now involuntary ones, autonomic में. So autonomic nervous system transmit impulses from CNS to the involuntary organs and smooth muscles of the body. Here it was skeletal and voluntary muscles of the body in PNS. In ANS it is involuntary. ANS consists of a special set of peripheral nerves that regulate the activities of involuntary organs like cardiac muscles, smooth muscles, glands, etc. In this, impulses are conducted from the central nervous system by an axon that synapses with an autonomous ganglion. Okay, it is preganglionic neuron. The second neuron in this ganglionic pathway has an axon that extends from the autonomic ganglion to the effector organ. So it's just like, passing the parcel. So one neuron is sitting in the CNS, one neuron is sitting in the effector region. One is between the two, connecting both. Okay, so just like passing the parcel. So CNS to the ganglion, autonomic ganglion में signal आ जाएगा, वहां से it will reach the effector organ. ठीक है? Which is known as postganglionic neuron. So preganglionic means ganglion के पहले वाला, post मतलब ganglion के बाद वाला. Ganglion is going to be in the center. Correct? Autonomic nervous system consists of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Now, what are these sympathetic and parasympathetic? Very important, very interesting as well. Okay. So, what is this sympathetic and parasympathetic? First, we talk about the sympathetic nervous system. It is also called as thoracolumbar outflow. It originates in the thoracic and the lumbar region of the spinal cord, that is between T1 to L3, and consists of 22 of sympathetic ganglion, which lie on a pair of sympathetic cords on lateral side of the spinal cord. Okay, so just like a C shape or a U shape structure on both the sides, they are going to be present. Okay, like this. ठीक है? The preganglionic nerve fiber are short and postganglionic nerve fibers are long. Adrenaline and noradrenaline is produced at the terminal ends of the postganglionic nerve fibers at the effector organ. Hence, it is called as adrenergic fibers. So, adrenaline and noradrenaline, both we have seen in chemical coordination chapter. Do you remember adrenaline, noradrenaline? Come on. Yes, exactly. So, these are going to be synthesized, okay, at the terminal ends of the postgangliotic nerve fiber. मतलब गैंग्लियन के आगे वाला जो न्यूरॉन है उसके एंड में adrenaline and noradrenaline synthesize करेगा. Sympathetic nervous system controls body activities during emergencies, that is fight, flight or fear. Okay? अगर हमें डर लगता है, अगर हमें गुस्सा आता है या हम लोग बहुत हाई फ्लाई कर रहे हैं, तो वो टाइम पे जो हमारे पूरे दिलो दिमाग पे जो छाता है ना, जो पूरा छा जाता है हमारे दिलो दिमाग पे, that is this sympathetic nervous system. So when you are angry, when you are scared, or when you are flying high, at that particular time, your sympathetic nervous system activate हो जाता है. Yeah, it's going to increase the cardiac output. Yes, beta, correct. It has excitatory and stimulating effect on most organs of the body, except digestive and excretory organ. They don't have any, effect on digestive organs and excretory organs. Otherwise, it's going to have stimulatory action. It gets stimulated. Look at the parasympathetic nervous system on the other hand. It is also called as craniosacral outflow. It consists of branches from the cranial nerves, that is 7, 9 and 10 nerves. Sacral is second and third and spinal is fourth nerves. वहां से ये parasympathetic nervous system का beginning है, origin है. It consists of ganglion which are very close or within the walls of the effector organs. The preganglionic nerves are long and post are short. Acetylcholine is produced at the terminal end of post-ganglionated nerve at the effector organs. Hence, these are also called as cholinergic fibers. Okay, so they are exactly opposite of sympathetic. Correct? Even their action is exactly opposite of sympathetic. Parasympathetic nervous system is antagonistic to sympathetic nervous system. It brings back to normal all activities which are stimulated by the sympathetic system. तो अगर तुम्हें कितना भी गुस्सा आता है, after some time तुम शांत हो जाते हो. Who brings it back? Parasympathetic. Hence, it is also called as housekeeping system. It has an inhibitory effect on most of the organs. However, the activities like those associated with digestion, peristalsis, micturition, which are inhibited by sympathetic system, are thus accelerated by the parasympathetic ones. Okay, so they are exactly antagonistic to each other. They are opposite in their actions also. The answers to all these questions are the presence of a sensory system in our body. It consists of simple to complex structures called as sensory receptors. So because we have got sensory receptors, we have got senses. I mean, we have got senses, matlab, we get the senses. Means sensations to be very precise. Okay? तो गुस्सा आना, डर लगना, ये सारे क्या है बेटा? These all are sensory actions here. Okay? Ganglia is the area where two neurons will integrate with each other. Okay? They'll integrate with each other. They'll associate with each other. Okay, that's the ganglia. Fine. Now see here. So here we were talking about this particular part, which I said I'll come to it again. So see, the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic, very clearly shown. Sympathetic may look at the action. What is the action? डायलेट्स द प्यूपिल, आंखें बड़ी हो जाती है सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम की वजह से। पैरासिम्पैथेटिक क्या करेगा बेटा? कंस्ट्रिक्ट्स द प्यूपिल, stimulates secretion of tears, inhibits secretion of tears, inhibits flow of saliva, stimulates flow of saliva. तो अगर हम लोग डर जाते हैं तो हमारा गला सूख जाता है, so it will inhibit the saliva formation when we are scared or when we are angry or something like that way. So sympathetic nervous system is going to prevent the salivary glands to become functional. Parasympathetic will ensure that it becomes functional. Accelerates heartbeat, slows down the heartbeat, dilates bronchi, constricts bronchi. Dilates bronchi, constricts blood vessels and increases the BP. This constricts the bronchi, dilates the blood vessels and decreases the BP. Okay. Inhibits peristalsis and secretion, stimulates peristalsis and secretion. Non-adrenaline conversion of glycogen will happen because of sympathetic nervous system. Here, it stimulates the release of bile for breakdown of this glycogen. Stimulates secretion of adrenaline and inhibits the bladder contraction. Here, the bladder will contract. So these are exactly opposite to each other, see, and they all are emerging on the left and right, left and right, left and right of these, and reaches the organs. Okay. Similarly, if you look over here, yeah, directly they have given the comparison. Heartbeat increases, parasympathetic decreases. Blood vessel constricts, dilates. Blood pressure increases, decreases. Pupil of eye बड़े हो जाती है, आंखें छोटी हो जाती है, constrict करता है. Retards peristalsis, accelerates peristalsis. Relaxes the bladder, contracts the bladder. Constricts or contracts the bladder. Which orange part, beta? Which orange part? This one? This one? Nothing. They have just taken out this. They have just taken out this part over here, and they are showing it in a typical manner. Spinal cord. This is basically the spinal cord. जहाँ पर chain of sympathetic ganglions present है. ये spinal cord है. ये ganglions है. It's on the sides ना, articulating U shape or C shape or whatever you say. Okay. Yeah. So that's about your what? CNS, PNS, and ANS. Now we are left with only 2 topics to complete this chapter. That is sensory organs, eyes, and ears. So on Friday, I'll complete this chapter of neural control and coordination. Okay, fine. So that is, it's again a very simple part, no doubt. But ear में confusion बहुत होता है बच्चों को. So if you have got any difficulties, of course, go through this. You have got the books with you. Try to understand. If there is any problem, do let me know. Okay. Chal. Bye, beta. See you all. Yeah. Bye.